Hey guys, it's been a wild month since I've moved back to Shanghai, and I can't wait to share all the challenges I've faced here. Last month I was interrogated by the police, I dealt with sewage smell in this apartment, I struggled finding a yoga studio and paying for my meal. Fast forward, I have survived, but not without a cost. When I arrived to Shanghai in August, as a tourist, I decided to check out a few apartments, and I really like this apartment where I am right now, so I rented it for 1 year. It is located only 400 meters from my company, so I can wake up later in the morning and I have time to have breakfast, get dressed, and just go to work. So after signing the contract, they told us we could move in the next day. And Reese was the first one who came to China and who moved into this apartment. He entered the apartment after 3 flights, after being in the air for 48 hours, and he discovered that apartment hadn't been cleaned. The floors were dirty, the fridge was dirty, the sewage smell in the bathroom, everything was absolutely horrible. I assumed that the apartment would be cleaned by the time we move in, because that's a no-brainer. They conducted so many viewings, so many people came here, they didn't take off their shoes, they were walking here, and the apartment was filthy after those viewings. So to me, that was a no-brainer that before moving in, they were meant to give this apartment to us in a clean condition. But the biggest problem was the smell of sewage. Plumber came 5 times and he could not identify the problem, and on the 6th time he realized that there are 6 giant holes behind our toilet, and this is where the smell was coming from. Funny enough, when I came here for viewing and for signing up the contract, I had a blocked nose, so I did not notice anything unusual. There was nothing odd, the apartment looked good, and there was no smell here. At least I couldn't smell anything. Because the apartment is really old, we had a lot of problems with sockets. Sometimes you put your phone on charge, it doesn't charge, and one of the sockets actually exploded. We were lucky that there was no fire here. This is something that was really frustrating when you have just moved in and you don't want to deal with so many things simultaneously. By the way, while we were waiting for plumber, we bought so many incense, candles, air fresheners, and nothing worked. And when the plumber came, he saw the whole space was covered in those incense. He was like, oh really, it smells. But the problem with that smell was that it was coming and going, and that was Murphy's law, because each time he came there was no smell, each time he left it started smelling again. So this is why he couldn't figure out what the problem was, because to figure out what the problem is you need to smell it, basically. Yeah, that was hilarious. You think that, oh wow, it's so bad that you had to face all these difficulties with your apartment. Trust me, the worst was ahead. It was a nerve-wracking roller coaster I wasn't prepared for. When I was in Vietnam, I wanted to go to China on a work visa, so my company issued an invitation letter, and when I entered China, I entered China on a work visa. And I thought, whoa, finally, there was nothing to worry about. There was just a few papers to get them done and we're good. I still had to finish my medical check, my work permit, and my residence permit. This was meant to be a lot easier, so I didn't think about it too much. The invitation letter gives you 90 days to apply for work permit. And my HR, they assumed that the same rule goes with the residence permit, because work permit and residence permit, they're slightly different. Work permit allows you to work in the country, and residence permit allows you to live in the country or temporary stay in the country. So basically, my company assumed that we have 90 days to deal with everything, and then there were October holidays, so they didn't really have enough time to deal with everything. I had my medical check done, I finished all documents. And then when we went to the immigration to finally apply for my residence permit, they said, well, do you know that you have overstayed? I was like, what? The moment they said you've overstayed, my heart sank. I was like, no, this can't be real. And then they've shown us that we had an invitation letter, it said 90 days, but the residence permit is my visa. It's a little sticker in my passport with little letters at the bottom. It says apply for residence permit within 30 days, and nobody has seen it, nobody knew about it. So that was a genuine mistake, and by that time I have overstayed 5 days. Overstaying in China is no joke. It can mean that you would have to pay fine, or there would be some legal implications. And this is when I started feeling really anxious, because they said, sorry, but you can't apply for your residence permit. We need to decide whether you're going to pay fine or whether you're going to get a warning. Those 3 days of waiting felt like an eternity. Every phone call, every email from immigration just made my heart jump every single time. Finally, I was called to the police station to explain myself. And you can imagine how psychologically it is difficult to go to the police station, even though you know that you haven't done anything bad and you didn't intend on doing anything bad. Just the fact that you have to go and you have to explain what happened, that was very unpleasant. Walking into the police station was really intimidating. They asked me to remove all my jewelry, to leave all my possessions, my bag with HR, and I had to follow the police officers alone, which was also scary because I had nothing to do with this situation. But yeah, I had something to do with the situation because that's my passports and these are my documents, and I didn't do my due responsibility. I know that's my fault, but on the other hand, I had some people who messed it up as well. So I felt like, yeah, that's unfair that they're not coming with me and they're not taking consequences. When all possessions are taken from you, you feel very vulnerable. As we entered the police station, they took pictures of me to make sure I don't have any scars, any injuries. And then as we were walking inside, they led me into the interrogation room. And I just didn't expect that this would happen in the interrogation room. I thought we would go just to their office. It would be like a regular paperwork. The walls were padded, something that I would only see in movies. And there was a chair made of steel, something like those American school type of chair when it's like a chair and desk together. So I sat on that cold chair, surrounded by those padded walls. There were 3 police officers. They started asking me questions like, hey, when did you arrive? Why did you overstay? Did you know that you overstayed? And basically, I felt pressure because of all this environment, but overall, police officers were very kind. They were very nice. They translated everything. They helped me. At that point, I've come down because I knew that I haven't done anything wrong and it's just the process I have to go through. We finished with all paperwork and I asked them, can I go and apply for my residence permit now? And they said that it's up to their boss whether I would pay fine again or they would issue me a warning. And again, I had to wait for a couple of days. Then finally, I received that golden call when their boss called and said, all right, I released this paper. You don't have to pay fine. It will be just a warning because you have clear visa history and it's a genuine mistake. And I was over the moon, but remember, my residence permit was not done yet. So I was over the moon, but not too much. I asked their boss if I would have any problems in the future with my visa or anything else. And he just laughed at me because apparently they have cases like this very often and people get caught in this like rules very often. So that was not a big deal. And that's another reason why I felt really relieved. A few days later, the same police officer who interrogated me, he took me to the immigration to apply for my residence permit, and it felt like he was my private agent. He was like, hey, let's go here, please submit your documents there. He was very nice, he was very kind, and overall, I would say it was a surreal experience, a roller coaster of stress, humility, and gratitude in the end. If you've ever faced any problems when you were abroad with visa or immigration officer, you would understand this unique anxiety it brings. Feel free to share your stories in the comments. I would like to know more about your experience, especially if you had good experience, but unfortunately, it doesn't always end up like it ended up in my case. China is nearly cashless. You should have seen the look on people's faces when I pulled out cash and handed it to them. You're like, whoa. First they laughed, and then they tried to search for change in their little drawer, and they had only like a couple of hundreds, and then they struggled giving me change. People are really paying here with cash. My biggest issue was WeChat Pay. My account has been frozen since 2018. I guess I know the reasons why, but it's not 100%. So they keep requesting my passport, my bills from back home, my permanent and temporary residence permits, and it's a little bit complicated. So because I don't have WeChat Pay, I can't use Dianping, which has a lot of coupons, and I could access spa or swimming pool or some other things. So I can't use those coupons. Also, Meituan is a food delivery. I can't use that one as well, but Alipay saved the day for me, so it's not too bad after all. If you're moving to China, I highly recommend you setting up Alipay and WeChat Money. As far as I know, Riz linked his UK card to Alipay. I'm not too sure what is the commission situation, but I know it's possible. I know it was a bit of a hustle. Finding a yoga studio in Asia was not as easy as I thought. Most yoga studios are located in shopping malls where they have a huge flow of people coming. So, or in some residential areas. So this could be a residential building. The problem with shopping malls is that they do not care if they're losing customers. So I messaged 2 yoga studios and they were not friendly, they were not responsive. I asked them, could you please provide me with this and that? And I messaged them in Chinese, and they've seen that I'm a foreigner. So they were not really responsive. Another problem with residential buildings, for instance, yoga studio is located in a residential building at the top floor. The problem is that when you go there, you can't get inside because you need to leave there, you need a special card to enter. So again, I visited one yoga studio and then I've seen the door, and the door was locked. Nobody let me in. I messaged them, nobody replied. And that was a struggle. So eventually I found a yoga studio, which was also located in a residential building, but there was a free access. I figured out the way how to get into the building. So I cycled to this yoga studio. It is in one of these buildings. So I cycled to yoga, and now on the way back, I stumbled upon this nice view. Just check it out. It's awesome. I also like the fact that we can rent bikes and it's really cheap, like 1 yuan or 2 yuan. Riz does Jiu-Jitsu, so there are not too many studios that offer this sport here. But he has to travel 30 or 40 minutes there because there are 3 gyms in Shanghai, and they are all located not close to where we live. If you are only interested in gym, there are plenty of gyms here. You won't have any issues. If you're interested in something specific like dance classes or Zumba, this would be more difficult, but it's still possible to find because Shanghai is very big. The question is, would it be easy or difficult for you to get there? And last but not least difficulty that I faced is consumerism. As you know, consumerism in China is huge. They have Taobao, Pinduoduo, 1699, you name it. The problem is that everything is so flashy, so tempting, so beautiful. You start buying something for your house, you start buying something useful, and then the next minute you bought a Donald Trump mask. Yeah, that's not me, that's Riz. He bought it. But the main point is that there are so many knickknacks, there are so many things that you don't need, but you buy them because they're beautiful or you always wanted them for whatever reason. I got an advent calendar for my friend. She loves this bunny who is called Stella. Maybe you know this bunny. It's very popular in Asia. And I bought her an advent calendar. I know that she'll be over the moon, but again, this is something that you would never intentionally buy. So I found a lot of unique goods that are available only in Asian market. And I'm planning to share these goods in my next videos. So if you would like to see them, please don't forget to follow, subscribe, and like this video. In my previous video, I talked about why I moved to Shanghai, and I mentioned that moving to Shanghai means sacrificing my freedom. And I would like to explain a bit more about it. It's not related to politics, and it has nothing to do with China itself. It's more about transitioning from online work to offline. I used to work from home. I used to build my schedule in my own way. I could have 2 days off, 3 days off, 4 days off, and everything was up to me. When now I'm employed by the company, and it means that I've lost my freedom because nothing is up to me now. Everything is up to my company, and everything should be done the way they want it to be done. For instance, in October, we had very long holidays, and then my company decided to have a makeup day on Saturday. So we had to work 6 days in a row, and I could do nothing about it. So this is what I meant when I said that I lost my freedom. If you want to know more about the reasons why I moved back to Shanghai, feel free to check out this video. Despite all the struggles in Shanghai, I'm learning, growing, and adapting. Shanghai teaches me resilience. Did you see what I used to film? I haven't even bought this thing yet. So yeah, I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for your likes, support, and comments. It means the world to me. If I can help you in any way, please ask me questions and I'll try my best to help you. Otherwise, see you in the next video. Bye.